Greetings. Welcome to Conversation with Tony Mobley. On Conversation with Tony Mobley today, we are having a conversation. We have a panel. It is a special education panel and an exceptional people conversation. Today is September 24th, 2025. This is episode 36 of 2025 of Conversations with Tony Mobley. This conversation uses the TV broadcast software Mimo Live, and we use Zoom. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by Clylock Lopez Waterman and his team. Thank you, sir, and thank you, team. We also have a chat that you can participate in and ask your questions. It's courtesy of Alex Lindsay. It's called Mukana, and Alex Lindsay of 090. If you have questions that you want to put in this conversation, we ask that you put it in Mukana, and that question can be voted up and down, or you can put it in the YouTube chat. Either way, we hope to get to your questions, and please ask your questions tonight. This is an unusual situation where we have educators, parents, and people who are on the spectrum that will talk about their experiences. So we're going to get started. And we're going to go with the very first question. And the very first question is, who are you? Please give us a brief overview on who you are. And we're going to start with our educator for tonight, Ms. Chantel Jackson.
I am Chantel Jackson. I am a special educator I've been in special education for 18 years. I stumbled upon it about 18 years ago, not sure what to do next after getting out of the Air Force and moving back home. So I became a teacher and fell into special ed because it was I hate to say the easiest route to my teacher certificate, but fell in love and have not turned back since. And I'm still doing it. I've left the classroom. I've done administrative roles from leaders and teacher leader inside the school building, from the district office back into the classroom again, because that's where my passion is. So that is me, Chantel Jackson.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson, for participating in this conversation this evening. We're going to go to, before we go to our parent, we're going to go to Mr. Zachary Sorensen, who's coming in from Warwick, Queensland, Australia. Who are you, Zach? Zach, do you want us to come back to you?
You're muted.
Zachary Sorensen is someone who is into audio-visual, these days doing more on the audio aspect of it. And I am a swimmer.
That's right, you are a swimmer. He shared some great photographs with us. He has also been, over the last year and a half, the TD for Conversation with Tony Mobley. And we want to thank Zach for all of his participation and support of Conversation with Tony Mobley. And we're going to go to our parent in the conversation tonight, Mr. J.J. McKenna.
JJ McKenna, I hope you're not tired from last week or a couple weeks ago. And Zach, I got a comment. I'm so excited that your narrator also has an Australian accent. That's so brilliant. So yeah, I was here last week doing my normal angry parent routine, which is at least now, and in for us, for our household in the past 15 years, figuring out how to negotiate and navigate the differences that exist, and having watched just a few weeks ago the Department of Education being defunded entirely in this wonderful democratic union we have, having watched that and just terrified for the future. Yeah, I'm the angry dad. My kids never played soccer, or at least not in this, we call it football. But yeah, the angry parent in the room. Yeah, exactly, Zach.
Absolutely.
Wishing I could throw in the towel.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, JJ. And we have another guest, my nephew, Jaron Durham. Jaron, tell us who you are.
I'm Jaron. I like helping people in any way possible, big or small.
Okay. Anything else you want to share, Jaron, about you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I like to travel, and also I enjoy being around the people I love every day.
All right. Thank you, sir. And I'll actually add this part to Jaron's brief bio. When I was down, very ill last year this time, Jaron came and stayed with me while my family went on vacation. And he was a tremendous help to me. And I am very appreciative to him taking care of me. And he did a fantastic job. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that, and how dear he is to me for going beyond the call of duty and supporting me. So again, I'm saying in front of everybody, thank you, Jaron.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
All right, sir. Next question is, please talk about your educational experience K through 12. And the reason why I'm asking this question, I need to preface it before, is that this conversation is really about exceptional people who have already finished K through 12, but I want you to share some of the experiences you had while you were in K through 12. So, things that you know that were good for you, things that could have been better, just anything that you want to share about K through 12. So we're going to start with Zachary, if you want to share anything about your primary school experience. I know it's a little bit different in Australia.
Before school, I did 4 years at an early development unit, which was more of a special needs school to help kickstart people who have physical disabilities. I did pretty much mainstream schooling all the way through. I had a full-time teacher aide all the way through. In primary school, I did get pulled out for morning exercises, hydrotherapy, and riding for the disabled. I even did camps with the special education unit, and they were a heap of fun. But when I got to high school, it was all education, education, education.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Zach, for that. Jaron, anything you want to share about your experience while you were in school?
Well, yes. Well, before I was in a small class, I deal with some bullies, but yeah, that's be expected from some folks who just like to start stuff with you because they see you as an easy target. But I'll try to ignore that and focus on bigger picture, my own future, and not let their bullying drag me down.
Okay. Was this taking place in a traditional classroom, or was it a small classroom setting?
A big classroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're gonna go to JJ. JJ, from a parent's point of view, you want to share something about K through 12 as far as your girls were concerned? You're muted. You're muted, sir.
Yeah, sorry about that. Here in the mid '90s, we had a series of changes that eventually led to the Common Core. Common Core was developed in early 2000s at Columbia University, and I know some of the folks who were working on that project. Prior to that, though, in the '90s, there was a bit of what's next, and I know here in California for a while, Ebonics was a method of teaching here to try and level the playing field to make sure that everyone had equal access to education. Um, so for my kids, so my son's, he was born in '92, and he went through education first in the Soviet Union, and then, or the end of the Soviet Union, I should say, and then here in the United States in '96. And the types of education were available here in the States were disparate. They were insufficient to his needs. He could already read, he could already do math, he could already, in fact, he was doing math at a much higher level than the kids in classrooms. Uh, so there was a huge shift. So our household, he went back to the U.S. or back to Russia, and he learned for another year in Russia. When he came back, he skipped 2 years. So when he went to high school, or when he left high school, he was 16 years old. He went to college, younger than most of the folks. So that's my son. Uh, and with respect to their education in the '90s and 2000s, it seemed like the system was set up not for success, but rather for figuring out how to outsource our intellectual development to other countries rather than the United States. And that meant that means today, even, today, there's a bizarre shift with, as I mentioned in pre-show, um, there's a horrifying and bizarre shift in a lack of funding for education for folks here in this country, and I find that unlikely that's true in Australia, because the Commonwealth has always tried to make sure that there are resources available to anyone who wants to learn. If you want to learn, the resources are there, but not here. The United States, that hasn't been true, and that hasn't been true here. And I'd say as a parent for the past 20 years. In California, if you want to learn, you have to follow the tide that is the current tide, and that's all that's available to you. Whereas me as a person growing up in the United States and Mexico, it was very different.
We have.
Come back to me.
Okay. Zach, we didn't really catch that. Did anybody else catch that?
Come back to me. He come back to me.
It sounded like, why did you come back to America then?
No, come back to me.
Are you saying come back to you?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah.
Not yet. Okay. Um, Chantel, please talk
Okay.
about your experience. Talk about your experience as an educator, K through 12. Please talk about the grade levels that you have um, taught in.
K through 12.
Well, K through 12. Okay.
I have had the pleasure of teaching all grade levels, which as an educator, it puts me compassionately at a different level. Like when I'm drafting the educational plans for my students, when I'm having conversations with parents, my mindset is truly K through 12. Um, I don't just see a kindergartner walking into the school who, let's say, has already been determined they're on the spectrum, and everybody, of course, has their own prognosis, but we don't know until students get to learning how they learn and what they can learn. I'm in the I'm on that side, err on the side of where Zach was talking about, as long as you can learn, we're going to figure out how you can learn. Um, so my job, and I've made it my, as much as I can, advocate for parents and students, to meet students where they are. If a student has a actual verbal output deficit or concern, then let's figure out how we can get what's in their brain out to us so we can understand it. So, as far as the K-12 is concerned, I think it makes a big difference for me being able to create plans, because that's my job. My job is to create an educational plan within this public school system as best we can in those boundaries. But in the midst of that, I feel like as a parent, my job is to tool my parents with the right information so that they can become advocates for their students. Where I wouldn't be, some of the things that I wouldn't be able to argue or bow down or, go down that rabbit hole, parents can. And I feel like it's important for me to provide you with those tools and resources. So a lot of times I'll provide my parents with agencies and resources that can assist with those that where I couldn't in my position.
All right. Thank you. And Zach is ready to come back in.
Yeah.
Okay, Zach.
We have similar problems with funding cuts.
Okay.
Sure.
That seems to be the climate across the world
Global.
right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. It is seems to be a global thing, and I was getting ready to go down a political road right then.
Well, no, I'd also mention that's true at the university level too. So universities
Really?
also are talking about, yeah. So one of our friends
Yes.
from the Office Hours crew, so Chris Sabato, I reached out to my old alma mater, Willamette, to find out what they're doing with accessibility. And it turns out that they currently don't have someone on staff to do what my daughter was doing, which hopefully we'll see here in a little while later. Her role at Mills College was as the accessibility advocate for students. And at Willamette, they don't even have they have a program, and they make sure there's accommodations for folks, but there's no one staffed to make sure those accommodations are going through, to define those accommodations, which at the university level is imperative. So the intake of students today is far less than what it was in the heyday of people learning how to make this possible. Our dear friend Andy Carluccio, if his university hadn't been around, I'm certain he'd be doing well, but the resources to create a formal setting for education, and especially for learners who can't function within a classroom in the way that other learners can, which is, what this group, I think, is trying to advocate for, and just talk about, have a conversation about what that's been historically, what that's been for ourselves personally. The future always, can seem bleak. There doesn't seem to be a lot of infrastructure present for this at any stage of education today.
There seems to be a move that's, I guess, sort of undercurrent right now that is trying to separate traditional education from special education, exceptional children programs right now. And I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if anyone wants to speak to that, please feel free. I will say this. Parents that may be watching, or family members, if you have someone that is on the spectrum and they are adults or they are in school, you have to be an advocate for your loved ones. I think this is a great opportunity to ask questions of parents and actually people who are experiencing some of the things that are going on in the world right now. So we encourage you to ask your questions, put your questions in Mukana, or put your question in the YouTube chat. And I will say this, that you can't put off what your loved one needs for a time when it's convenient for you to take time out of your schedule. Now is the time. And if you can't do it, I encourage you to reach out to other family members and friends, your pastor, your priest, your rabbi, whomever is a part of your extended community. Ask for help. Ask for help. I'm going to say that again. Ask for help. If you can't do it, and we are a community driven world. Human beings are meant to commune and interact with one another. And if you need help, you need to ask someone. The worst thing that they can say is no. That's the worst thing that they can say. But my oldest son said to me one time, and I never forget this because I don't know where he got it from. He said, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And if you need help, you need to ask for help. All right, we're going to move on from this question, and we're going to see what the next question is. Okay, the next question is, what assistive technology or technology are you currently using? And we're going to start with Jaron. Tell us what technology or assistive technology you're using. What kind of devices do you have?
I have a laptop and iPad.
Okay. What kind of laptop do you have?
It's a Gateway.
Okay, it's a
Gateway
Windows laptop,
Mm-hmm.
and you have an iPad. What kind of iPad do you have?
It's
I'm sorry?
it's when it's a
iPad Series 9 or Series 8, do you know?
iPad Series, I think,
It might
oh,
be Series 9.
Series 9.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. You
Yeah.
also have a what kind of phone do you have? You have a smartphone?
I have a gateway phone.
You have a gateway phone.
I have a
Oh,
Samsung phone.
oh, Samsung. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about the gate. You know, I like technology. I was going to ask you about the gateway
Oh
phone.
yeah.
I never.
Yeah. I
Okay, you have a.
set it up for my laptop for a bit there. I'm gonna say
Okay,
smartphone.
okay,
So that's how
all right,
I with sometimes on it.
okay. Do you have earbuds? Do you have any other things that you're using?
Yes, I have earbuds and some headphones. Yeah.
Okay, and anything else? Any other technologies that you have?
Mm,
Okay. All right. If
okay.
you think of something else, raise your hand and let me know, and we can come back to you. We're going to go to Zachary now. Can you talk about your technology, Zach?
Back when I was in school, I used a bit of assistive technology, but nowadays I tend to not.
Okay.
However, today I am using this communication device.
Okay. Anything else you want to share with us, Zach? You want to give us some particulars about the communications device? And I'm like JJ. It's interesting that you have the Australian accent on your communications device. Okay. Well, okay. Yes, we think Zach's video might be frozen. We're going to go to JJ. You want to share anything, maybe any technology that your children use?
So I was really happy with Bookshare, since as my daughter, my learner, had issues with access to books. Bookshare is a brilliant nonprofit, and it provides access to books that aren't normally available on tape. So, books that aren't normally available for people who can't read words, which was her issue, decoding. So her issue was decoding words, which really requires, when you think about it, 3 layers of decoding. Tiger isn't a tiger. Tiger isn't a tiger. Tiger is a giant animal that comes at you, and translating the tiger in English to tiger as the sounds, and then eventually the word, remembering those words in sequence, that's what she had difficulty doing. So having access to Bookshare, I got to say, was one of the greatest things in the world, because when we got Kindles in 2006, 2007, having the ability to load a book and have that read for her using Daisy, the reader inside of the Bookshare interface. They offer you a couple, but even when she was in college, her ability to bring new books into that glossary and that index of books that normally aren't available anywhere, and folks who also want to contribute to that, read into Bookshare and provide resources for, like, Love in the Time of Cholera, multiple languages. That doesn't exist on Amazon. Doesn't exist on, or didn't. It might today, but back in the early mid 2000s, it didn't exist. So it was pretty great having access to that.
That's fantastic. Chantel, can you talk about some of the assistive technology you're using in your classrooms?
Right now in the classroom, we are using both low tech and high tech. So low tech would be basic, just pictures for words. I have students who use both. Actually, ironically, this student uses, he's sort of like Zachary. He chooses not to use the the augmentative device or the AT device for speech. However, we do have low tech for emergencies, for I'm hurting something, something's wrong. So that's why the low tech is available. And it's more for us because we can understand him. It just takes a minute. And in the sense, and my concern as a teacher and a parent, if there's a true emergency, we need to know what's wrong. I don't have time to try to figure out and decipher what you're saying. I need to know what's going on. We need to deal with the emergency. So for emergencies, we have agreed with him to use the low tech. We also have high tech devices as far as the iPads are concerned that have the Pro Loco downloaded on it. And some of those can be expansive vocabularies to all the way from the collegiate level to kindergarten. And then some of them have vocabulary as it, low as pre-K to kindergarten, just depending on the cognition of the students. We also have we use screen reader. We use Cami. My district uses Cami. I'm just gonna say it like that. I've used better screen readers before. I just think that there are other options that are available that are more user friendly, that are more sort of like what JJ was saying about the Bookshare. They're just easier for the student who has to use it. Cami, I think, is more for the adult or someone who is able to manipulate the system a little easy. It's just a little more difficult to manipulate.
As far as your thoughts
It's not user.
on
Go
assistive
ahead.
technology in general?
Assistive technology in general, I think it closes the gap for people like me. Because I'm able to understand what's going on in the brains of the students if they don't have the physical capability to give me real word, give me traditional words. So it closes the gap and it gives me the opportunity to erase some of those assumptions that you don't know, because a lot of times we assume that people don't know because they're incapable of stating it.
Okay. Thank you, Chantel. Thank you, everyone. Did I miss anybody as far as assistive technology? Okay. And Zach, if you want to come back anytime, just raise your hand and let me know that you want to come back.
I don't work now.
You want to come back now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll stop if animal for the work.
Not right now. Okay. All right. So the next question is, what should everybody know about exceptional people? And I'm going to start with, we're going to start with the parent. What is it that you think everybody should know about exceptional people?
This is a mistake I made early on. I mean, I had the opportunity a couple times to make the mistake, and I have a creator who was gracious enough to let me still have loving children afterwards, giving them enough room to be exceptional. And I think that means, I'd even say with the folks I work with, people like Tlaloc, who's cutting the show right now, or people like Mickey, folks who excel in the field, or like my kids who had to excel in their desire to learn, giving them room to learn in a way that might not be the way that I learned, giving them the space to develop in ways that I wouldn't be comfortable with, because my way of learning was open a book and spent a lot of time in a book. I spent most of my school years in the libraries. I loved the library. Didn't really like sports because every time I got to play sports, someone got hurt, and I didn't like that because when people got hurt, they got mad at me, and parents got mad at me, and so I really didn't like that. So I spent most of my growing up time in libraries. Having then for my kids that same expectation, they'd spent time in libraries, that didn't work for them, because for my kids, they needed to have access to learning in very different ways. That meant, similar to me, hanging out in creeks and learning about biology in the creek, hanging out inside of in the bathroom, playing with chemicals in the sink, and figuring out for my son who's got a doctorate in chemical engineering. For him, learning how to make things burn. His job is a catalyzer. So he figures out how to catalyze different kinds of products as they exist, or elements that exist, to create, for instance, carbon, turning carbon into a solid object. And however carbon capture might exist, that's his job today at 32. Yeah, giving learners the opportunity, exceptional learners, the space to learn in the way they're going to learn. And God gave us one mouth and two ears. Learning how to hear that, watching how they do that, not lecturing into that space, but rather letting them teach us without
judgment.
But also I would say that there are folks who make the mistake of letting kids do whatever they want. That is F minus. If you want rotten children, let them do whatever they want. Don't do that. That was not the case. In fact, my daughter, she created in ceramic a list of all the rules. So Dad's rules are now immortalized in ceramic. It'll exist for 1,000,000 years, because she fired in a kiln all the rules that I had. So as I say, there should be rules. There should be rules, and we've got a really good book for that. I've got a great book. If you want a copy, I'll give you a copy of that book.
What's the title?
I applied the book. And here it is, right there. That's the title right there, Tony. I can familiarize you with it. So that book is a great book, and using the precepts for our culture, because the teacher provided us that access to that book, and the teacher gave us lessons from that book, and applying the same lessons to my kids, but always listening, because that is also true. The teacher was listening. The teacher wouldn't have provided us this book if he hadn't been listening.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Zach, do you want to come in?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Even though people are in a wheelchair doesn't mean that they are stupid. Sometimes they might have an intelligent mind.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Thank you, Zachary, for sharing that. Jaron, what do you want people to know about exceptional people?
That those with disabilities shouldn't be bullied or mistreated in any way. Even though they have disabilities, they're still human beings too, who need our understanding so we can help make their lives easier than they struggle they have to deal with.
That's fantastic, sir. Thank you so much for that. Okay, we're going to go to our educator now. I know you have a lot to say about what we need to know about exceptional people.
They're exceptional. It's in the
Yes.
definition. Exceptional learners need dynamic, exceptional opportunities to express what they know. I think that if we do that, I I agree with JJ. I live by the book. um, and I feel like that has given me an opportunity to be in the lives of children, and the right children in the right times, to give them that space they need to be a safe space to learn, a safe space to be wrong. Like the thing I tell my children, my students every single day, this is the safe space to be wrong. It is okay to yell out the wrong answer today. You're supposed to yell out the wrong answer, because how are you going to know what's right if you don't know what's incorrect? And it's no different than, I think that if we go back and read that book, we saw lots of people make lots of mistakes, and they were
Absolutely.
corrected, and then they were given grace and mercy, and and then we just keep. And I think if we take that into our classroom, you allow for those mistakes and hiccups, and oh wait, but the rules are this, but we still need to learn this. And then we just correct, and I think that's the thing, that is what I think people should know about exceptional individuals.
JJ, you want to come back in?
I do want to make a comment regarding what is possibly a highly controversial component of this today's show, and that is to say, the book should not be forced upon anyone. And the story that I relate regarding this is when my daughter reached a certain age, I let her know that the bus driver is always going to go to the place where the book is taught. And whenever she wanted to get on the bus, she was free to get on the bus, but she didn't ever have to get on the bus, because that's a huge mistake that occurs in culture, in society, in history, is that folks have forced their book, whatever their book might be, they force their books on culture, society, and that's an enormous mistake, because people have to come to their book on their own. Otherwise, it's just a series of imposed rules that are forced down folks' throat. If you don't accept your book on your own, then it doesn't mean anything at all. You have to want it. You have to want the education. You have to want the knowledge. I chose the book as my set of rules for me on how to best convey those same set of rules for my family. And so that's what I want to comment on the book. And I believe that we may get to see, or may get to hear from my learner pretty soon, because I heard some noises in the house.
Okay. Well, I will say that I think that the panel this evening, all of the participants are extremely familiar with the book. And because I have a bias, I'm going to say that because they are all familiar with the book, that they have an advantage that some people who don't have the book don't have. And I will stop there. Um, Chantel, you want to say something?
No, I was honestly just thinking back when JJ was saying about the whole let's not push it down their throats kind of thing. I agree with that 100%. Unfortunately, if I am the book, so if you get me, you get the book. So it is who I am. It is whose I am. So I mean, I may not come out and bring you Matthew verse, blah blah. No, I'm not going to do that to you. And I'm not going to say, well, this is the only thing. No, never. I'm just going to give you me, and it'll show through me every single day and everything I do and everything I say.
Well, I will say this, that amen again. Um, I I spoke this week at the church that I'm a part of, and my sermon was salt and light in the kitchen and beyond. And I came from Matthew 5, verses 13 through 16, where it talks about salt and light, and how, if you are a disciple of Christ, how you are to exhibit that salt and light. The only reason I mention it is because I think that we have to allow our children and our young people and our people that are in our lives the opportunity for them to share their salt and their light. And it's important. It's important that space, as JJ says, is there for them to internalize and to get on the bus if they choose to get on the bus. But for us to be representative so that they might want to get on the bus. Mm. And I'll stop there. And we have a young lady that is with us this evening, and her dad did coach me on pronouncing her name, and that has been more than 30 minutes ago. So I am not going to mess it up. I'm going to ask her to introduce herself, and to and first when we say welcome, thank you so much for being here, and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and your experience as far as being an exceptional person.
Thank you. I'm Senya. Thank you for having me. It's really lovely to see all of us together here to talk about some really important topics. I am Senya. I go by Ksenia, Senya, all sorts of different names. It's very hard to pronounce. It's very hard to just even see on the screen or paper. I'm a gymnast. I love all sorts of crafts and such, but really what I've done my entire life since the age of, I was diagnosed when I was 8 with a disability and learning disability. And sorry, Brutus. I just am excited to talk to you guys about my experience of being someone who has had a disability and someone who has been an advocate for people at my college. Not only did I act as a demoer for the kids or students who had reading disability needs, who needed a reader, that's something that I had, and demoed other accessibility, like note-taking stuff, all throughout my college experience. But I'm excited to talk about how much accessibility is important and is needed for all sorts of students, not just, really young students, but also adults in their higher education or just regular education. All is included. I think it's very important. And in me being a gymnast, I'm also a gymnastics coach. And so I thrive in making students and anyone else have the access that they need for their education, and also all sorts of fun stuff for them to do. So I'm Senya. Wow. Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you, Senya, for so much for coming in and sharing that with us. We were just talking about what we think people, exceptional people, what people should know about exceptional people. Is there anything that you want to say about that in terms of, you gave us quite a bit right there. The one question that I have right now is, so are you currently volunteering to support people at your campus for exceptional people?
I haven't been in some time. Since graduation. I graduated during COVID or post-COVID, so I had a really interesting experience for graduation, but I do still keep in contact with all of the students that I did work with and help. Something I forgot to mention is that I'm also like a tutor in different math and sciences. So for the exceptional people, the one thing that I have to say is that it's really important to not forget that although students with disabilities might be disabled in a certain aspect, the other aspect that they're not disabled in is exceptional. Like they are completely and super capable in those other realms. Just because they're not capable in one realm does not mean they're not capable anywhere else. So I would love to further emphasize that. For me specifically, I have a disability in reading and comprehension. I absolutely hate it. I've never loved it, but I'm amazing at math and sciences, and that's where I thrive in, and that's where I tutor, and that's where I try to get other kids to, if they're having struggles in that time, that's where I try to help them get better at. But that's not been a struggle for me, and that's where I've been thriving. And like I said, I do keep in contact with the students that I have tutored in the past, especially on my campus, and they're doing exceptional things now. So yeah, I think that's awesome. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Sonia. Um, those of you who are on YouTube, unfortunately for you, you're not able to see the proud papa in action. He is very animated as his daughter was speaking. So I just want to let you all know that he is very proud papa. So we are thankful for you, Sonia, that you have made your papa very happy. We have a question from Clark Lopez Waterman from Phoenix, Arizona. What strength do you find in yourself because you were given the gift to work with people you work with as educators or parents? I'm going to read that one more time. What strengths do you find in yourselves because you were given the gift to work with the people you work with as educators or parents? Jaron, you want to go first?
Yes. I found the
Go ahead.
strength. I found the strength to keep going on because to never give up, never give up, no matter how much I struggle, I'll never give up. That and I had God by my side
All right.
for
Thank
guidance.
you, sir. Thank you, sir. I probably also should mention that anytime that I am speaking at church, Jaron is the person who reads the scripture for me in our worship services. So, and he has not failed me yet. He's been there every time I speak. He is there to read scripture for me. So, thank you, Jaron. Um, Sonia, you want to go next?
So I think a strength that I received, or something that I learned in just interacting and being I guess I'm an educator now, is learning to persevere, just like we were talking about earlier, but also um, you learn for yourself where your strengths are. So I, as a tutor, as a teacher, I love to look for where the students are able to, how they integrate or how they actually take in the information when they're learning. I think it's really important for me to learn that about myself. I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I try to implement kinesthetic type of teaching styles. But some of my students don't really work with that well. Sometimes it's auditory, sometimes it's visual. I do gymnastics. Like I said, I'm currently coaching in gymnastics with different students of different varying disabilities or access needs. And I find myself being very helpful when I change up my learning styles. I don't try to stay stuck in one direction and just go based off of that because it works for me. I change up my lesson plans so that it works for certain students and also everyone. Because in a learning environment where you have a whole class, it's really hard to pinpoint one kid. You don't want to, or student, you don't want to just single them out and make them feel small or put a light on them because they're extra special. Even if they are, you don't want to make everyone else feel that way. So I found for me learning that I should include everyone, and by including everyone, changing up my way of teaching and how it's being perceived for others. So that's something that I've learned to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
JJ?
and I would say that having watched Ksenia grow up and become an advocate, not just for herself, but also for other folks, I think that natural message of how to be considerate of everyone else around you, I think that the world's inability to connect with each other, either because of book or their book or no book, I've been, for me, that's been what, when we talk about what the future's held for my student learner, having watched proudly her develop skills that were advocating not just for herself, but everyone else around her. That, I think, is probably the most important component of, folks today, like in order to become a success within the society or for themselves, what they want to learn, being an advocate for that and demanding that from the folks around you, because it's owed us, it's owed you, it's owed Zach, it's owed you, that the folks around you provide those same resources that are provided to everyone else.
Wow. Thank you, sir. Zach, I want to make you last. We're going to go to Chantel.
So, first of all, I love it. Kenya, I love it. 100% love it. Because I mean, that's what I feel like my place is. No, I don't know. Like I said, I fell into this world haphazardly. I needed a job. I became a paraprofessional. And now I've been teaching for 18 years. But anyway, I think that I've been given the ability to teach learners how to advocate for themselves. I get the opportunity to, especially now, I've gone back. I started out middle school, so I went back to middle school again. And now I am currently in the ebbs and flows of teaching 9 young men how to advocate for themselves, that are in a smaller classroom that may or may not receive or working towards a high school diploma. They may be working towards a high school credential, different state, different words. Either way, they're working towards getting into the workforce. So my job right now is to teach them how to advocate for themselves, to get access to any type of work, the work that whatever skill that they have, so that they can practice all these skills to figure out, what am I good at? Just so that they can say, okay, this is what I know I'm good at. This is what I'm struggling with. Okay, I know I need this to get out of high school, but I want to really focus on this so that I can get a job in this field, or I can continue my education in this field. But I want them to be able to advocate that or say that, whatever their form of saying that is, express that and advocate for themselves. So a lot of times parents, JJ, I've told you to be quiet in my meeting and let your child talk. Because when they get to high school, it is important that they start to advocate for themselves, because they become young adults who are in this world. And once they become 18, we are no longer important as their parents. We're just somebody hanging on, trying to tap on their shoulders to tell them what to say. But they have to say it for themselves and express it for themselves. So right now, that is where I am in the ebbs and flows of things. So that is kind of where I think me being in this position allows me to blossom.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Ari, Zachary, anything you want to share? No? Okay. All right. We want to thank Lala Lopez for that question. Zanya, this question is for you. It's from Lilac Lopez Waterman. Can you talk about what you did in college and what you did there?
Thank you, Judy. Happily. Yes. So I graduated in 2017 with a biochemistry molecular biology degree. That was a Bachelor of the Science, and I got a minor in psychology. I went into college wanting to go into the neurobiology program that we had at the time. Um, but biology has a lot more memorizing and understanding of article reading than I wanted it to. So I ended up going for the minor in psychology, which still had plenty of reading, but the classes that I chose to take, my upper divisions, were more on the clinical research side. In college, I also, with my bachelor's of science, I did a lot of research in terms of we were studying different natural or native plants that were surrounding Oakland. I went to Mills College, and I just, I stuck with the sciences. I stayed in my track that I knew where I did the best. And yeah, I did some research on some bay laurel leaves. So I have a little bit of um, science background there.
Well, I want
And
to
your
say,
role as an advocate.
And my role as an advocate, thank you. I always like having like a little snippet as to what I'm supposed to write, sorry, or talk about. But my role as an advocate, so in terms of that major, I was a note taker for students who had disabilities in understanding the curriculum that was being written in front of the screen. Those for who had vision ailments or any like stuff like that. I had a student that I was working hand in hand with. She was the president at the time, and I was the treasurer. She was legally blind, and so we tag teamed in getting the Disability Advocacy Club off the ground. And so once she graduated, I became the president of that club. As I said previously, I was the demoer for the note-taking program that my school was providing as an accessibility need. I also, so that was one of the roles that I played. I was actually going to different students and teaching them how to use and utilize those accommodations. I also taught students how to advocate for themselves as well, like Chantel was talking about. We were teaching them how to specifically schedule their own exam times, and I got double time, or I got double the amount of time for my exams in a separate room, and you have to schedule that. And so navigating that whole program. Tutoring, I was also a TA, having those times to actually sit down and walk through all of the material with them. That was everything that I really liked to do. And I learned to, like I said, communicate with different disabilities and different needs, and how to accommodate those situations and how to communicate, how to ask for those needs as well. So my role was pretty lengthy, and I was a part of the orientation meeting as well. So I made sure that everyone knew what access they had and how to actually go and ask the right person for those things. Yeah.
wow, thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. Our time is actually almost over. We have a comment that I want to share with you from Dr. Chris Clark. Often, as parents, we have an internal expectation for developmental schedule of our kids, but there is no correct schedule for individual development. Mom and dad need to let go of those. Thank you, Dr. Clark. All right, we're down to the last question. Before I read the last question, I do want to say this to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for coming here and sharing your superpowers And I believe that sincerely, that because someone says that you have a deficit, it doesn't mean you don't have superpowers. So I want to say that. Our last question. You're speaking to the world. I'm sorry, Zach.
Can I say something before we go?
Sure. Go ahead.
Think, but in the same breath, don't trap them in bubble wrap. And if they find something that they love, do everything in your power to make it happen. And even if they have a severe disability,
Give us that again.
Thank
champion
you,
your
Zach.
kids. If you think you're helping them have another think, but in the same breath, don't trap them in bubble wrap. And if they find something that they love, do everything in your power to make it happen. And even if they have a severe disability.
Wow. I I I I have to say this before we do the last question. Thank you, Zach, so much for sharing that. And as I said earlier, um, Zach is one of the TDs, the primary TD for Conversation with Tony Mobley. He comes in from Warwick, Queensland, Australia, and he cuts this show. And something else that he does that he shares with the community, but not so much. I want everybody to know that he is a swimming advocate. He does a lot of swimming. He also works with his church youth group, and he does all of their audio visual needs. And so he is an amazing young man. And as I said, everyone here has some superpowers, and I'm so thankful that we had this time to share um, your superpowers. One of the things that I wanted to talk about that we didn't get to, we have another question or comment. One thing I want to say is don't be afraid to push a little bit. And that's from Juju Hot Whis. Juju Hot Whis. Adventures. Juju Hot Wheels. I'm sorry, Juju. Juju has been on Conversation with Tony Mobley. And I'm going to read that again. One thing I want to say is don't be afraid to push a little bit. That's good advice. And another thing that I did not get to tonight, but we don't have time, is, and I'm trying to say how we can do this. I want you all to think about the things that you want to do in the future. And we don't have time to talk about it tonight, but maybe down the line we can talk about what is your personal goals for the future in terms of what you want to do. I don't know. Do you guys think that might be better than what our last question might be? Our last question is, what do you want the world to know? So instead of asking, what do you want the world to know? Maybe we can ask, what it is that you want for yourself for the future. And we're going to go with Zachary. I'm going to make you last. And we're going to go with Sonia. What do you want for your future? What do you ultimately want to get to?
I want to teach and encourage confident learners, even in places of weakness. I think having teaching and knowing myself and having people surrounding me, a lot of the times we don't feel comfortable or confident in the spaces we feel weakest in. So, like I said, I'm really strong in my math. I can teach math, but I have people around me who are not. And so I try to push and I try to teach. So I want for myself to encourage learning in our weaknesses and learning to love them and be confident in them. So for me, it's learning to love reading and learning to love reading in a way that others may love reading.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We're going to go to our educator, Chantel.
Future. I want to, I think I'm rolling off into that side of, I want to teach exceptional people how to advocate for themselves and to stand in their exceptionality, stand in their superpower, put on their big old cape and whatever else, and just tell the world how great you are, show the world how great you are, and not just in the four walls that I get to see the greatness. Because it's unfair that sometimes I'm the only person that gets to see the greatness because I accept it. I want you to be confident in your weaknesses and in your strengths and just share them all. So I think that's where the future is for me.
I just want to say that when I had the pleasure of teaching exceptional people, I would always get a beautiful gift in terms of a surprise, something I was not expecting to see or learn or experience. I would always get a surprise that even now I can hold on to. It's been more than 10 years since I was in the classroom, but I still get a little giddy about some of the things that I got, the pleasant surprises that I got to see. Jaron, what do you want? What do you want for your future? What do you want to do? What do you want to experience? We know you like to travel. Besides travel,
Learn many different languages besides English, like Spanish, French, and Japanese, and all sorts.
well, you know what, Jaron, I'm going to share this a little possibly assistive technology with you. You can advocate to your family members to get you a pair of AirPod Pro 3s that have just come out. They have in them language translation. So that is something that you could actually advocate for your family members who may be listening and watching. Hey, you guys, Jaron wouldn't mind having a pair of AirPod Pros 3s that do language translation.
I like
Not
that.
the same as learning the language, Tony.
Shameless
Well.
plug.
Xenia.
Well,
Xenia.
well, that's well. Let me say this. Also, another way in which you could work on that is, I believe Khan Academy does have the opportunity for you to do some language learning. So that is a resource, and it is a free resource. I believe it's free unless it's changed. Khan Academy is free.
It's mostly free.
Okay.
Free.
That's
Mostly.
Okay. All right. We're gonna hear from our parent, and he's gonna close us out.
So I'd say actually from some things I got to learn today is keep learning.
Oh,
Keep learning. And I know that Zach's gonna be our last going to close us up, but I'd say keep learning everywhere you can. And that tonight I actually got to learn more because, as I mentioned earlier, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Learn how to hear, learn how to listen. I got to hear from my learner some of the things that she wants for the future, and that one will be constantly amazed at what the future might hold, because we live in the now, and good book says keep it Timothy. So big book, good book. Find a Timothy and find someone you can train and teach for the future, because our time is limited. So having a Timothy available with who we could teach, and learning from your Timothy, and I get to learn from Mike Senya, who is my Timothy, and I get to learn from folks like Zach, and also not just Khan Academy, but your local library. Your local library probably has resources. For me, Rosetta Stone. Rosetta Stone was free with my local library.
Absolutely. And Zachary, I apologize. You have the last word.
I am focused on getting my own audio business up and running, and more swimming
Wow.
training.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Zachary. Thank you. I want to thank everyone so much again for sharing with me today. This has been a fantastic experience. I am so happy. I wasn't really sure how this was going to go with our exceptional people and our teacher and our parent here. I'm so glad that we did do this. This was absolutely amazing, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here with me today. Conversation with Tony Mobley.com is our website, and you are welcome to watch this episode, previous episodes. Matter of fact, you might want to go back about 2 weeks. We had a conversation where Chantel and JJ were on with me, and that was a great conversation. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by Clarlock Lopez Waterman and his team. We want to thank Mimo Live, and we want to thank Zoom. Stay tuned for new episodes and great conversations. We want to thank everyone. We're right near, I don't know the exact number, but we're really close to 200 episodes of Conversation with Tony Mobley. And I will actually, by next week, I will let you know exactly how many episodes we have. I want to say thank you to our panelists for being a part of this conversation today, for doing the work you do, and for being the people who you are. Next week, we're going to have the artist known as DTM, Dan Flores. He will be here next week, and he will be sharing his art. So we're looking forward to having Dan Flores, DTM, here next week. Please feel free to support Conversation with Tony Mobley by volunteering or donating to Conversation with Tony Mobley. If you would like to donate your time, you can check the links on our website, conversationwithTonyMobley.com. You can donate to Conversation with Tony Mobley. We want to keep continuing to get better with what we're doing, and we need donations in order to do that. And we ask that you please like and subscribe on YouTube to Conversation with Tony Mobley. We want to say thank you all so much for being here. My guest today, I am ecstatic about this conversation. Looking forward to sharing this conversation on social media. And I'm looking forward to us having another conversation like this in the near future. Miss Sonia, well, thank you so much for coming in. You were worth the wait. Thank you so much for coming in. Brother Jaron, my buddy, Chantel Jackson, thank you so much for continuing to support me. Anytime I'm talking about education, I'm going to have you come on and talk about your other business when you get it, when you want to. And Brother JJ, my brother, thank you again so much. Zachary, keep doing your thing, man. I am proud of you. And I thank you for your service to Conversation with Tony Mobley. And again, thank you, Jaron, again, for all your continued support. I'm going to say good night to everybody. Take care. God bless.
So I didn't focus enough on